Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dokkan Battle video, and today we are going to do a team building guide for Super Hearts. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to look at Hearts as the leader, and what are some of the best team builds you can make with Hearts. So his leader skill is, whoops, wrong page. His leader skill is going to be Dragon Ball Heroes or Time Travelers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some more traditional like Dragon Ball Heroes / crossover builds, and then show you some options you could do with Time Travelers. The one thing with a lot of these heroes units is they want to be used with other heroes or crossover, so it is sometimes hard to intermingle those other categories, but it is an option, right? Now when we look at Hearts himself, he does want to be like on a full extreme crossover team if possible. If he is, then he has a chance to stun all enemies and he gets an extra 20% and 2 ki added onto his passive. So he gives all extreme class 1 ki and 30% attack and defense, but if you're all extreme crossover, then it's 3 ki and 50% attack and defense, which is pretty crazy, right? But we'll look at some team builds maybe when he doesn't have that. But it is only, here's the thing though with this passive, it's not that the whole team has to be extreme crossover, it just means on the turn it has to be. So I'll show you some sneaky things you can do with this build. Oh god, I haven't even unlocked my hearts yet, I better do that. I'll show you some sneaky things you can do with the build where you could set up where like he will always have the full passive and you can still use other units of other from their just time travelers, right? Or like super class units or whatever, right? So we'll look at like, this to me would be like a pretty standard team build. Now, there's going to be a lot of options, but the way I like to build my teams for just general use is I like to have 2 main attacking rotations and then floating supports, right? So if we look at this, the one thing with Hearts is he is a big bad bosses unit. So you want to try to get big bad bosses if you can. So I'm going to try him with Meki Kabura from last year. He is a big bad bosses unit. That could be a rotation. And then, dude, Silas, his EZA is really good. I think Silas is pretty darn good. And I think he is worthy of being like a very good on-rotation unit. So I think Silas with Hearts on the other rotation could be good. And then we would float Ames, who I think is one of the better free-to-play EZAs we've ever gotten. Like, this guy is actually crazy, like the amount of defense he can get. He's a very good support unit, so don't sleep on Ames. He's very good. So a very good support option. I think Robel, if you're running Hearts as the lead, I feel like Robel is almost like one of the first units you slot in as a support. She's so good. She just does so much for the team, right? She's got dodge, she orb changes, she reveals super attacks, like, yeah, she's very similar to like Chilai, where she does like all this good support stuff. It's just that like Robel, like, I think the Scouter just has a chance. It's not guaranteed, where I think like Chilai's is guaranteed. Like Chilai's support is like slightly better, but Robel has like way more attack. So Robel's gonna spit out like 3 to 4 mil attack stats, and still do a lot of the things that Chilai does, which makes her really good, right? Whereas Chilai's hitting like 500k attack stats, right? But I'd still think Chilai's a better unit just because her support is so busted. But Robel is, think of Robel as like having a Chilai option on these teams, right? So I think she's very good and almost a must run. And then I do think this Tech Golden Cooler is also a ridiculously extremely good support option. And the thing with Cooler is he wants to be run with Dragon Ball Heroes, so he's really good if you're running these full Dragon Ball Heroes builds. Golden Cooler is almost a must run. So the thing with Hearts that's a little bit different than the Vegeta, because I did a video on Limit Breaker Goku and Vegeta, right? Hearts has a lot more limited options for his team, so when you look at him, there's almost like some, yep, must run. Right now, if I'm looking at like a Heroes build, I feel like Robel and Golden Cooler are like my first 2 slot-in supports, like no matter what. Now, Meki Kabura, you could definitely debate that, like maybe like Fu better, you could try Fu or something like that. There are definitely other options, but I think Silas is almost like one of your mainstays on rotation, just because I think he's really good. You could play around with units like Cumber, but Cumber's kind of weird, doesn't link as well, doesn't have big bad bosses, right? So it just depends. But I'm really liking Ames too, right? Now, depending on the event, and the one thing I should say, I usually say this disclaimer at the beginning, but there's no one definitive team build that's always going to work, right? You're always going to change and modify your team based on the type of event. So for example, if you go into Super Battle Road, there's a really busted setup you can do for Super Battle Road that's going to be a lot different than this, right? So let's look at some more options. So this is how you can be sneaky with Hearts. So Hearts is a transformation unit. And the way transformation units work is if they transform, they will link up with units of the same name. So this is an example where we could utilize, say, the Time Travelers part of this passive, right? So I'll show you some more examples, but let's say you wanted to do a Time Traveler's rotation. So for example, I just threw out this LR Goku Black and Zamasu in this STR Rose because they are about to Easy A and Global. Like, they're very close to getting their Easy A. I think actually in the next celebration they're getting Easy A. And they're both very good, especially Goku Black and Zamasu. Like, they're particularly busted, right? An even better rotation, I don't have him because he's not released yet, but Goku Black and Zamasu and then like the LR Fuse Zamasu. Like, you could run like a full Time Traveler rotation on the other rotation, right? So let's say I have this Goku Black, Zamasu rotation, and they're just off on their own rotation. Then what I could do with Aims, or not Aims, but Super Hearts, remember Super Hearts wants to be on like a full crossover extreme setup, right? Well, what you could do with Super Hearts is you could actually run 2 Hearts as a rotation. As long as you can put up with a few turns waiting for him to transform, but you get 1 Hearts transformed, you can link him with the other Hearts and keep them as like a full linking busted rotation that is like supporting. So you could do that, and then you just float a bunch of supports, right? So then I just wanted to throw out these Toas. Now this wouldn't have to be the exact team build, like you'd probably still use like Metal Cooler or Golden Cooler and stuff like that, but I just wanted to showcase other support options you could run. This AGL Toa, she Easy-A'd last year and she's actually quite good, right? This Toa actually just got an Awakening last year, so she still has an Easy-A coming at some point, but she's definitely a solid support unit. And then Poutine just got an Easy-A, and she's actually a really good support unit with her Easy-A. So just to show off some more options there, right? Alright, so if we go into here, we can look at just other rotational options, right? So if you're doing like the crossover build, I think potentially like Grade 8 Cumber and like Super Saiyan Broly kind of could work. And that's because they're Saiyan Roar units, right? They're going to share Saiyan Roar together, which is a very powerful link. So I think just based on having Saiyan Roar and maybe another link or two, Broly and Cumber could work. I wouldn't say that that's like an optimal rotation, but definitely something you can play around and try, right? Now, another thing you could do, if you remember here, if you want to do a build like this where you want to try that Time Traveler setup, you could do like a Cell rotation as an example. So maybe AGL Cell, Physical Cell, that could be your rotation you slot in instead of the Goku Black Zamasu, and they could still be there and not interfere with Hearts' passive. Now, keep in mind, like, you don't have to stick to that. Like, Hearts definitely, you could just have one floating around. He's still supporting for 30%, even if it's a non-crossover, rotation. Like, it's still fine, right? So I don't think you need to get too caught up in that. Like, if you want to spread your wings and, like, expand into Time Travelers a bit, you totally can do that, right? So I think Cells are good Time Traveler options. Other just crossover options, I think this Baby Janemba is actually a really good option you can run, right? And then obviously like the new Black Janemba, the new Metal Cooler, Golden, like they could be decent too. I think they just have more improvement once they awaken, but they're solid right now, right? So those other units you could run as well. But I definitely need to shout out Supreme Kai of Time Brainwash, because this is a unit where you don't want on every team build that you're going to do. But if you're running Super Battle Road or events where the enemies can be stunned and sealed, like this unit's almost a must run. I would dare to say that this might be the best Super Battle Road unit in the game. What I think is going to make her the best Super Battle Road unit is she has 2 separate chances to AoE stun the rotation. And if you AoE stun in Super Battle Road, it's like a free Ghost Usher. And with how powerful units are now, and the way they structure Super Battle Road, is they build the units to be glass cannons. They hit crazy hard, but they die easy. So literally you get like an AoE stun with her, and she gets a bunch of buffs when the enemies are debuffed. You set her up with like Robel and Poutine, and it's over. Like, they're stunning, they're lowering attack, lowering defense. She's going to be spitting out 10 mil plus attack stats, like no problem. Here's the thing, I haven't done my showcase on her Easy-A'd yet, so I actually don't know what she looks like, but I know her SSR. Last year I did a showcase on her with just her SSR, and I hit 8 to 9 mil attack stats with her, unawakened. So her awakened one's got to by far exceed 10 million, right? So she's going to be crazy. So I definitely need to shout her out, but I'm not going to run her in like red zone or anything, because a bunch of her passive comes from enemies being debuffed, and a lot of the difficult content, they negate debuffing, right? So if you can't debuff them, she's kind of pointless and she's kind of mid. She's only going to hit like 4 mil attack stats, something like that, and she's not really doing much else for the team. So, but in situations where she works, like this unit is almost a must run. She's crazy, right? So that's basically it. Now, you could go through your Time Traveler library and just pick any good rotation. Sure, you could do that. I just wanted to throw out like the Cells as a solid option. And I'm pretty much sticking all Extreme Class here. Now, keep in mind with Hearts, you're free. You can run Super Class. There's nothing saying you can't. It's just with Hearts, since he's an Extreme Class support, you're kind of wasting that. And really, that's not like fluid team building, right? So I'd say if you can, try to keep hearts to mostly an extreme team. And I would say if you're doing Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4s, definitely go more super class. That's not to say you can't like chuck in a super class unit, right? So here's a good example. Like on the hearts team, right? A unit I talked about that's like a must play on like the Limit Breaker team would be like Xenopan as a support. Xenopan plays in very well in hearts because a floating support unit that's super class isn't really going to mess you up that bad. Because it doesn't matter that she's not getting supported from hearts. The only thing is like hearts will lose that 20% when she rolls around on his passive, but like she's a very good capable slot 3 unit, and with extreme class being so limited, right, like you might not be able to build a full extreme team. Xenopan would be a great option you could throw in, right? So it's not to say you can't put super class on here. I would just say if you can, try to build hearts with all extreme units. I think that's really the way to go. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think of these teams. If you guys need additional help with team building, I do have a Discord. It is in the description of all my videos. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.